Hi, I'm Gary Lamagna, and I'm the current detachment commander for 2018-19. And as I promised you, I brought some of the best brains in the detachment with me to help cover this topic about how we run a successful meeting and how we make them effective. It's not enough to get people to your meetings, although we're going to talk about how to do that, but it's very important that they're interesting enough that they'll come back again. So I want to introduce you to the gentlemen that are here going to share their expertise with us. And Greg, can we start with you?
Yeah, hi. Greg Price, past detachment commander and current Zone 1 commander for the Sons of the American Legion. I was commander in 2008, 2009.
Hi, I'm Dominic Merlington. I'm past detachment commander from 2017-2018.
Dominic was my predecessor, and I learned almost everything I know from Dominic. So thanks, Dom.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And what he doesn't know, Greg's taught me. So it's working out well. But the first thing I guess we want to talk about, guys, is how to prepare for a meeting. What should the squadron commander have at hand when he's ready to start the meeting? You want to help us with that, Dom?
Oh, certainly. The important things to have, are like the physical items that you need to conduct a meeting with. It would be the colors, the American flag, the POW, MIA, Blue Star banner. You got to make sure you have that. Also, it would be nice to have, I'm going to go through maybe get ahead of myself, things like the agenda, what you're going to talk about when you have the meeting. So it's important to have that to have it run smoothly and efficiently. Any other additions?
Well, the obvious one that every commander ought to have.
Yes. Yes, this is handy to keep order. Hopefully you don't have to use it that much except to have people sit down or rise, but when things get out of hand, this maybe comes in handy here too.
One thing that I find that's effective if I run a meeting is the thing that's most important to us is our preamble. If you have a copy of the preamble, you can give it to the guys, because most guys don't memorize it.
Yes.
Even though it's on the back of your membership card, you can take it out of your wallet and look at it. If you happen to have a copy of the preamble and you have it sitting there, they'll pick it up, and then it reminds them how important this is to us as a group.
Right, and we're going to, in one of our other videos, we're going to go through that kind of line by line and try to explain what each one of those mean, rather than us just kind of reciting words.
Correct.
We want to get into the meaning of it.
Good point.
And I'm kind of opposed to never saying never, but I will say it in this particular instance: never, never, never have a meeting without an agenda.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It does a number of things for you. Number one, it keeps you on point so you don't get distracted, and it also makes sure that you cover every topic that was important to you, because there's nothing worse than leaving the meeting and saying, oh geez, we wanted to give Aunt Matilda $100 and we forgot.
You know something too, Gary? There's nothing more valuable than a good adjutant. Hopefully the adjutant can prepare an agenda, that's specific to what you need to talk about. If not, I've had to do this myself. I would prepare my own agenda. But like Gary said, very important to have an agenda so you know what you're going to talk about, to keep things running smoothly. Remember, there's always time for conversation before and after the meeting, but not during it. You're there to conduct business.
And I think that's some real insight that whoever put this all together for us had, is because the commander gets to appoint his adjutant. So he's getting somebody that they're thinking alike, they work together well, and they're easily accessible, and those kinds of things.
Yeah, because there's things that at a previous meeting that might have been discussed, that was brought up, that on your agenda you can address that, as old business or however you want to define it, to come up, and then you can go back and go, oh yeah, hey, we talked about that. Or someone might be on a committee that's bringing something forward.
What do you think about 2-hour meetings?
Long, people hesitant to come now after if you do that long.
You can beat a topic to death while you're having the meeting. The point is to discuss it, dispense with it, and move on to the next thing. I mean, they say you want to talk about it, have conversations, do that, after the meeting. Preferably, you're really just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah. If you keep it interesting, people enjoy coming.
Oh yeah.
Because they're a part of it, not only the post, but the community. So they'll bring a lot of things that they're doing.
Right.
So hopefully your commander and adjutant get together beforehand, at least have the agenda set up, so you know what you're going to talk about. Like Greg's saying, you don't want to sit there and think, well, what did we talk about last time? Do we need to bring this up again? I've seen that happen time and time again too. It's really not necessary. You know, you just got to put a little effort into preparing before you come to the meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, and I would encourage, and to me, it's critical that you can run an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because after that, you're going to lose their attention. But it is really critical that you work closely with your adjutant, because he can kind of keep you on point. And I can tell you, without a doubt, that it is a whole lot easier to conduct a meeting sitting out in the audience than it is sitting at that front desk. So you're going to make mistakes, and don't worry about it. You're among friends, you
Yes.
know, we'll fix it. You can't do anything that's irreparable, that can't be fixed, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
But having said that, we should talk about some of the basic rules of Robert's Rules of Order, so that you do, the reason for Robert's Rules of Order are several, but one, you get a lot of business conducted in a reasonable amount of time, so it doesn't go on forever and ever. And probably the biggest reason is that minority opinions have the opportunity to be heard. And there's a whole lot of examples where, you know, people are dominant and they have one particular idea in mind and they're going to force it down everybody else. Well, everybody has the right to speak at a meeting. Chair needs to recognize you, you need to identify yourself and state your opinion. However, you are entitled to your opinion, and that's why I will tell you the biggest fallacy in Robert's Rules of Order is call the question. There is no such thing. Call the question was invented by Congress to suppress dissenting opinions. So I can't say call the question and deny Dominic his right to speak. Now the chair can if we're just beating a dead horse and repeating everything. But don't let anybody ever say to you, all right, Commander, that's enough, we're gonna vote on it now. It doesn't happen, that's the commander's decision.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the other things of Robert's Rules of Order that are critical.
Well, one thing that I like is, I mean, this is an awful thick book, you know, but the thing that I like is like you said, if someone who wants to dominate a conversation, say somebody makes a suggested thing that they want to bring up on the floor, the dominant person might speak, and then the person is a little more less forceful, will want to talk, and that guy will. You have to let the other people speak as well. And then once they spoke, then that person, the forceful person, can come back after everyone else has spoken. So that gives everybody a chance without being intimidated.
Well, and don't forget either, that's kind of the commander's position too, to make sure that that
Absolutely.
is allowed to happen.
Yeah.
If you have to use this, then you have to use this.
Yeah.
You know. But another great thing is too to keep in mind, your squadron handbook, boy does that address a myriad of just about everything. You've got your constitution and bylaws format in there that you can use. You have meeting format in there that you can use. So for heaven's sake, if you don't have a squadron handbook, get one, because that really addresses a lot of the things you're going to need to run a successful meeting. Also keep in mind too, a lot of the things that you discuss or talk about at your meeting, a lot of them are addressed with your constitution, bylaws, and your standing rules, okay? The Robert's Rules kicks in when those particular things aren't addressed, okay? And then that's when Robert's Rules will kick in. So that's basically, I say, use that handbook. Use your resources that are out there. On the detachment website for Michigan, we're trying to put more useful things out there for squadrons to take advantage of, okay? There's a lot of things on the national website too that are useful. And don't be afraid to ask, you know. Get a hold of me, Commander Gary, Greg, whatever, if you have any questions. We're there. And believe us, we don't know it all. I'm a long ways from knowing it all, and I'm judge advocate this year, so it's a learning process. Oh, a real important thing about this that Greg brought up, this is the Bible of Robert's Rules. And I was told this by a very learned person, Robert's Rules of Order for Dummies is the best thing to have. It's the best thing, because that addresses what you need to know.
I have that copy too.
Yeah.
You know, another thing, and Gary, I'm sure that you've been there as well as you've done, when you run into a meeting sometimes, somebody will want to make a suggestion, you know, and make a motion on something, and the hardest thing to do is tell them that we have to be in compliance with the Constitution of our detachment and the thing. We have to go by our bylaws, and then, you know, what you have in there. And sometimes it's difficult for someone, but when you say, we have to stay within those parameters.
Yes.
You know, and if you go outside, then they have to change the wording on that, you know, so.
And I'm fond of telling people, and I love being commander, don't misunderstand, and they treat me great, but there's a big difference between being commander and king. You don't get to do just anything you want to do. There are rules that are true.
So one thing that's really important during a meeting is if somebody wants to make a motion, if you're going to make a motion, we suggest that you write it down so that whenever you come up to the microphone or stand, whatever, you can state it clearly, exactly what you want, instead of just kind of forgetting because you're up there, and then once you do that, then they're aware of what you're making.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have an exact statement of what you want to appear, what they're voting on, and what appears in the minutes. Because remember, your minutes, once they're passed, that is kind of like the law. So you want to make sure that it's accurate. You don't want the agent to try to remember, well, what exactly did you say? And I've seen that happen. Remember, you're never going to be perfect on everything, but these are suggestions that will certainly help, like say, writing it down, so.
And another thing is, once that motion is related to the commander or the adjutant or whoever, they will read that back and say, hey, the motion on the floor is. So the people sitting behind you who might not have understood will understand. So then, yourself, and then you call for the question. We have a discussion first to see if there's going to be
Okay, guys, well, we've talked about how to run effective meetings, and I thank you for being here for that. We're going to come back and do one on how to make meetings more interesting and how to get more attendance at your meetings. So stay tuned and watch for that one next. And thanks for joining us.